What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining Glad's Horror Channel, the best horror channel here on YouTube. Over the next few weeks, we are going to take a journey into the 100 scariest movies of all time. Let's go. All right, everybody, so I put together a list of the 100 scariest movies of all time. Now, remember, these are my personal scariest. These movies that were scary to me at some point in my life, either conceptually or by execution. So it took me a while to put this list together, but I'm very excited about it because we are entering the fall season, which that means Halloween is right around the corner. So I'm going to break this out into 10 videos ranking starting with number 100 to 90 and so on and so forth until we get to the scariest movie of all time. Now, this is going to be fun and it's going to be divisive because when it comes to scares, when it comes to what's scary, it's all subjective. What's scary to me might not be scary to you, but I want to know what you guys are thinking on this list as we go along. Let's get started. Coming in at number 100, Scream. Now, I understand some people might have this way high on their list, and I completely get that. For me, Scream isn't very scary. But I mean, there's been, how many movies have there been? So to make the top 100 is a feat in and of itself. I just don't find a masked individual that can be overpowered, or, a human being that can be overpowered and overcome, that scary. When I think of putting myself into that movie, I don't get scared by the Scream franchise. Now, there have been some iterations, some entrants into this franchise that have been scarier than others within the franchise. But in the entirety of horror movies, I do not consider this that scary, at least not to me. You may disagree, but number 100 for me is Scream. Coming in at number 99 is going to be the original Last House on the Left. Now, that's not to say that the remake is not good. It is. It's very serviceable. But the original came first, and the original had a grittiness to it that added to the uncomfortable scenes in this movie. Now, for me, scary isn't always jump scare. It isn't always something that I watch and I can't sleep that night. Sometimes it's something when I'm looking at the screen, I get uneasy. I want to turn away, but I don't. It's just a very uncomfortable feeling. And watching this movie, for me, made me very uncomfortable. If you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is uncomfortable to watch, and for that reason, number 99, The Last House on the Left, the original, is on my list. At number 98, I'm gonna go wild here with The Dentist. I know. The Dentist is not a very scary movie at all. I get it. I'm not talking about the movie itself in execution. This is purely a conceptual horror movie and why it scared me conceptually. Think about this. If you've seen the movie, if you haven't, spoiler alert here. The dentist, when he was about to leave to go to work, and had a thought that his wife had cheated on him. Come to find out he was right, and he already had a little stuff going on mentally that he wasn't fully there anyway. Imagine you going to the dentist for a routine cleaning, and your dentist on the way to your cleaning finds out his wife or his partner is cheating on him, and then has to come work on your mouth. You're in one of your most vulnerable states when you're at the dentist, and we trust that everyone's there to be a professional and do their best. In this case, it wasn't, and it can have grave effects on people. From a concept, it is terrifying. Is a terrifying concept. Now, it's a little campy in execution. So from an execution standpoint and the actual movie itself, not very scary. But like I said earlier, my reason for making this list is either execution, conceptually, or both. And in this case, number 98, The Dentist, is conceptually terrifying. Coming in at number 97, Silence of the Lambs, starring Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster. Now, this is, some people say this is more in the thriller, suspense, and this list is not scariest horror movies. This is scariest movies of all time. Why is this movie scary? The villains, Buffalo Bill and Hannibal Lecter. It's kind of in the same vein of The Dentist from a concept standpoint. You have a psychiatrist, a psychologist in Hannibal Lecter, who is someone that when we think of a psychologist or psychiatrist, we are there to be vulnerable to them and trust them to help us work through whatever we're working through. He was eating people. Like, he was eating people. We see him locked in a cell already at first entrance. And just the way that he's standing there, just no blinking, just staring dead into the eyes of Clarice Starling and dead into the eyes of the camera, which is us. And then you have Buffalo Bill, who through his quirkiness, I guess would be the word, and just kind of the manic state he was in was also terrifying. And on top of that, the movie was very well done, very well acted. So you made it, you felt it more so. And then when Hannibal Lecter escaped, and he was out and about, and he's brilliant, and he's smarter than most of the people that he's gonna come across. You're just like, okay, he can be anywhere now. For me, number 97, Silence of the Lambs. Number 96, the original Friday the 13th. So, Friday the 13th, spoiler, is not Jason Voorhees as the killer. It is Jason Voorhees' mother. What makes it scary? Number one, the twist to show who the killer was, because at first glance of Pamela Voorhees, she doesn't look like she can do that type of stuff. She looks like, a friendly, motherly figure that is there to help, and she's not. She's brutal. And to top off when you think of the motivations, her son drowned because of negligence from the camp counselors. I personally have never been to camp, which is why I have the list that and not higher on my list, because I can't put myself personally in that space. But while I watch the movie, I can put myself in the space of the camp counselors that weren't even the ones that perpetrated this. And then when you think of everything else, this essentially started of course it started the Friday the 13th legacy, but this essentially did for counseling, or camp and camp counseling, what Jaws did for water. And it started all right here. So number 96 for me, Friday the 13th Part 1. At number 95, we have Amityville Horror. Now, the Amityville Horror, I'm referring to the original. The remake I enjoyed, but I like the original better. Again, more on the dated feel and dated look of the movie today works in when you're dealing with ghosts as the main antagonist. Sometimes when you polish the movie, make it more modern, make it shinier, it takes away from the scare factor of certain scenes. So that's why I like this one. And what makes it scary, if you've ever bought a house, rented a house, moved into a house, most people that go to get this house are like, they put all their chips into this basket, and they're like, this has to work. This is our house, and you've just signed on for this long-term investment, and then they come to find out that it's haunted. And on top of that, not only is it haunted, but it is taking over the mental state of the father in this house. Again, in the same vein of Dentists or Silence of the Lambs, the father figure or mother figure or parental figure is where we're supposed to feel safe. And you do not feel safe in this movie. So for me, number 95 is the Amityville Horror. Coming in number 94, I am going to go with The Purge, the very first Purge. Now, conceptually, that it is terrifying to think of conceptually, that all crime for 12-hour span, or however it was a 12-hour span, is legal. And just the idea of people with vendettas against you that you might not even know they have vendettas against you, and then now they can act upon whatever they're feeling in that space and have no repercussions, like, that is terrifying. And even still, when you look at execution wise, it is still terrifying, because in this movie you had the person that created all these impenetrable security systems. And that is, once you're behind that system, you're supposed to be safe. Through events that happen in the movie, the system breaks down, people get in, and then you have to protect your family at that point. It is a terrifying concept. So for me, number 94, The Purge. Number 93, I'm going to go back some years here. Horror of Dracula with Christopher Lee. Why is this one on my list, number 93? Because this is one of the first Dracula or horror movies to be in color, and to see Christopher Lee, who is a pretty tall, pretty imposing figure, with blood dripping from his mouth in certain scenes, and see the fire and the redness of his eyes, those visuals are terrifying. Now, you guys know I'm a huge fan of the Dracula character. So to see the evolution from the Bela Lugosi days to how it was conceptualized on screen with this one, number 93 for me is a Horror of Dracula, one of the best iterations of the character. Number 92, Silent Night, Deadly Night. Again, this movie, if you have not watched this movie, first of all, every movie that I list on this list should be watched if it hasn't been watched already. But Silent Night, Deadly Night, granted it's a franchise, it gets progressively less serious, but the first one is very scary. From the grandpa in the chair, he might be the scariest character in the entire movie. And then on top of that, when they leave and they see, and the kids are in the back and they see who's a person dressed as Santa. Now, from a kid perspective, if you see Santa, it's not supposed to elicit fear. You're definitely not supposed to do what that Santa-like individual did in that movie. So imagine what it will do mentally to children that would see something like that, and then they would grow up and get triggered by whatever it could be to bring them back to that mind state. You have big trouble on your hands at that point. So from an execution standpoint, and the concept of it being Santa, who is supposed to represent gifts and happiness and smiles, and you get complete opposite. Then you have the nun. The nun in this movie is also very terrifying. This is a very, very good film. If you haven't seen it yet, number 92 for me is Silent Night, Deadly Night, the first one. Coming at number 91, I'm going to go with Poltergeist, the original. So as an adult, when I watch it, it's not as scary to me now. It doesn't have the same carryover for me that some other movies may. When I was a kid, this movie terrified me. From the girl being something to the TV, from the clowns. It was just an overall very good ghost movie. There have been better ones. And again, as I get older, it's not as scary. When I was a kid, this movie was terrifying. So for me, number 91, the original Poltergeist. Coming at number 90, I'm going to go with Night of the Living Dead by George A. Romero, the original. Now, Night of the Living Dead is groundbreaking. From a conceptual standpoint, we hadn't seen zombies on screen in that way until the movie came out. Now, remember, there was I Walked with a Zombie back, I believe, in the 30s, but it was not the zombies were not portrayed the way that they were portrayed by George Romero in this movie. On top of that, so conceptually, that has that. On top of it, from an execution standpoint, it was terrifying. Go watch Night of the Living Dead today. Guarantee, and turn off all your lights, watch it and enjoy it. Guarantee you will still feel a little shook by that movie the same way they did back in the 60s. One thing that made it so awesome were the zombies then were not as grotesque looking as they are now. Just remember the very first scene in the cemetery when Barbara just saw the guy walking. She didn't realize something was up. Yeah, he had a tatted, like a torn suit jacket, but he didn't come across looking as monstrous until he was right up on her. And the subtlety about the way they looked was what made it work. Now, as time goes on, obviously, we've seen so many iterations of zombies, but this being the original, this being groundbreaking, is very well done. And my number 90 scariest movie of all time. So there you have it, guys. The start of my list of 100 scariest movies of all time, from number 100 to number 90. Hope you guys liked it. I want to know in the comments what you thought. Now, I have a feeling some people are going to be very upset by my placement of Scream, and probably surprised / upset by my placing of The Dentist, because obviously it's not that scary of a movie. However, I explained why I put it in my list. So that is the beginning of my video. I'll have 89 through 80 in the next couple of days. But if you guys are new here, it's the Glad's Horror Channel, the best horror channel here on YouTube. I do all things horror. Hope to see you guys in the comments for what your favorite scary movies are. I'll see you guys next time.